Good morning, my friends. How are you all doing today? So this is our day one of our strictly online learning for the last week that we're out. Hopefully we get to go back after spring break. Fingers crossed. So our first 10-day learning plan, I had you really focus on fractions and just the operation part of it, just to kind of keep our mind with the strategies that we can use to solve fractions. So this week I want our focus to be on the word problem aspect. So we're actually going to be using the UPS check strategy for the word problems. You've been introduced to this before in class. We've done it all the time, but we haven't really done it with fractions. So we're really going to push it and see how well this helps us with fraction word problems. So here today, we're going to focus on adding and subtracting fractions using the UPS check strategy. So I have a word problem already up, and I just pulled this off the internet. You might see it again. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Sally has a piece of cloth. She used one third of a foot of the cloth to make a pillow cover and another 4/7 of a foot of the cloth to make a tablecloth. If Sally started with 2 feet of cloth, how much cloth does she have remaining? That's what we have. I just copied and pasted this. Y'all know how I am. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is understand the problem with our chart. Now, we all know we can easily just do this on a piece of paper. You do not have to have this sheet. I will, though, give all of you access to one that you can type on, but you'll only have one copy of it. So if you want to do that, just make sure that you come up here and hit File, Make a Copy. But it's going to be hard when you get down to this part of writing it to do it on here. But if this makes it easier to you, then you can use this chart to write out your information and then use your piece of paper to show your work. That's completely fine with me. Whatever's going to help you. All right, so remember we have 4 parts of our understanding the problem chart that we need to do. We have the quantity, which we know is the numbers, the units, which we know just tells us what that number stands for. The units is not necessarily like the unit of measurement. It could be that it's talking about how many touchdowns there were or how many eggs were in the basket. Our description tells us what that number is. And then we have our expression that we'll do at the end before we write our equation. So the first thing we want to do is that we want to look and find every number that's in our word problem. Now remember, it doesn't just need to be the actual number written in number form. It could even be the number that's written in word form. So if it's a number, it needs to go in our quantity. I like to just start at the top and work my way down. So starting with the first sentence and have them in order that way. So Sally has a piece of cloth. She used 1/3 of a foot. So right here, I'm going to put 1/3. Then another 4/7. So I want to do 4/7. And then the other number is 2. Now, remember, word problems, we're trying to figure something out, which means one of our quantities is actually going to need to be a variable. And we know that a variable is a letter that represents the unknown number, which is what we're trying to figure out here, which is how much cloth does she have remaining. Well, we don't know that. That's our variable. So I'm going to put C as my variable to stand for cloth because that's just easy for me. You can do X, you can do A, you can do B, you can do whatever. Just remember we don't want to use O because O looks like the number 0. And we don't want to use L unless it's capitalized because it looks like the number 1. So I'm just going to do C, and notice I did capitalize this. So now I'm going to go back to my problem, and I'm going to figure out what the unit of this is. So the 1/3 is 1/3 of a foot, so my unit is going to be feet. The 4/7 is also a foot of cloth, so that's going to be feet. And then also my 2 is feet. Okay, so my unit for my cloth, I don't know if it's going to be feet or inches. We've already talked about unit of measurements, and we know there's 12 feet in an inch. So if this is less than 12 feet, it's going to be inches. So my unit, I'm just going to put as remaining. Okay, you can put cloth, it doesn't matter. I just do that because I don't know if it's going to be feet or inches yet, and I don't want to get in that mindset that it's going to be feet because it might not. Who knows? All right, so our next step is going to be our description, which is what these numbers are what they stand for. So I'm going to come back to my word problem. Notice this is really making us go back and look at that word problem multiple times to make sure we really understand what it's asking, instead of doing a quick read and then doing the work and realize, oh, it wasn't even asking me that. So she used 1/3 of a foot of the cloth to make a pillow cover. So this, the 1/3 of a foot, was the cloth used for pillow cover. And remember, you can be as detailed as you want for that. You can be shorthand. You know, a lot of times when I do it on the board, I just do something shorthand just so I know, or that you know, what that description is. The 4/7 of a foot was what she used to make a tablecloth. So cloth used for a tablecloth. And then the 2 feet was what she started with. So for that one is going to be, I always forget how to do this. Okay, cloth started with. See, even with online learning, guys, I'm still the same as I am when I'm standing in front of y'all. I forget half the time what my words need to be. All right, and then for our description for a cloth, I already put it in the units, but what we're trying to do is how much cloth is remaining. So cloth remaining. And that's not how you spell remaining. Remaining. Okay. All right. So now that we have that done, we can start working on the expression part. And you don't have to. Remember, I said what we can do to kind of help us out, especially with our expression for this, and to get us ready for middle school, is to actually not write an expression, but to write an equation and use a variable. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to write the expression. So 1/3 foot used for cloth for pillow cover. Do I need to do anything with just the 1/3? Nope. So I'm just going to do this. I'm just using the little minus sign to show that I don't have an expression for that one. So do I need to do anything with my 4/7 of a foot and my 1/3 of a foot? Well, let me go back into the word problem once again. So she has a piece of cloth. She used 1/3 of the foot to make a pillow cover and another 1/3 to make a tablecloth. Well, I have those 2 feet of cloth. See, losing my train of thought. And I want to add those together to figure out how much she used, since I know she started with 2. So here I'm just going to put 1/3 plus 4/7. And if you don't know how to do the plus sign, you'll see the plus sign is above the equal sign. You want to hold down shift and hit where it says equal, and then you'd get the plus sign. Okay, so we're going to have 1/3 plus 4/7. Now for the 2 feet remaining, we know we're going to want to have whatever these 2 equals, this 1/3 plus 4/7 equal. And I know if I need to figure it out, I need to subtract. So therefore, we started with 2 feet. So I'm going to say 2 feet because that's what I'm starting with. And I want to subtract that. Let me put a space. Subtract that from what I got for this answer. So you know what? I am going to use it. I am going to put a variable in there. I'm going to make an equation. I am, because we need to practice that. So let's say that's going to be, let's just say that's T for the total of how much cloth. Okay, so she started with 2 feet, and we're going to subtract that from the total, which we know that T is up here. Remember what I told y'all? When we have something that equals a variable and we need to plug it in, like the Glade plug-in, we're going to plug it in to figure out our answer. Don't laugh, you know you liked it. You're probably doing it right now. All right, so then our entire expression to find the cloth remaining is going to be C equals, because that's what I'm looking for. We're going to say 2 minus, and I'm just going to plug in this T up here, 1/3 plus 4/7. Okay, now notice that at the moment I do not have any parentheses. I'm going to put those in just a second because I've got to go back and check all this stuff before I write my equation. So let's see, 1/3 and 4/7. Well, that's the total that she used of cloth. So I know that's what I need to do first. So coming down here, just because I had this 2 first here with me subtracting, I know my largest numbers need to be first. I know I need to do this first. So I'm going to put this in parentheses, because using my order of operations, I always need to do parentheses first, and then everything that's not in the parentheses second. So here, we just wrote our equation that we're going to put right down here for number 2. So for my plan, I'm going to write my equation. I'm going to do this the same way. Now, you don't have to have your C first. I know some people put the variable at the end, so I'll just show that down here as well. So I'm going to say 2 minus parentheses 1/3 plus 4/7 equals C. Let me move this over a little bit. So that is my equation that I'm going to use to solve this problem with Sally. Trying to find something. Okay, with Sally and how much cloth she has remaining. So down here on this part, this is the part I said that you might have trouble showing your work on the computer, that you can do this part on the computer just to kind of help with organizing it, and then once you have your equation, go ahead and put that on a piece of paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this really fast and do it real quick because I'm only allowed 15 minutes to do a video, and then it cuts me off, and then I'm magically in like a few seconds, you're going to have it's going to be worked out for you right here. And with the power of magic and hitting pause and then play, there is my work. I did it on a piece of paper, and then I just took a picture of it and put it on here so that you can see it. So really quickly, what I did was that I have the equation written back out. And then since I knew I needed to add first, and these do not have the same denominators, I did 4-step real quick to find that 21 would have been a common denominator, and then found the equivalents and added and got 19/21. So then I came back up here and see I haven't used the 2 yet, so I had to do 2 minus 19/21, 21st. We'll figure that out one day. I could have either put this over 1 and then found the common denominator and then subtracted, but I know that 2 is actually 2 groups of 21 21s plus 21 21s. And I use 21 as that because this has the denominator 21, and I know that 1 is the same numerator and denominator. So I just took that and decomposed 2 into 21 21 plus 21 21. So I wrote it out over here again, 21 21 plus 21 21 minus the 19 21s. And I just used this right here, and subtracted 21 and 19. And I got 2 21s. And then I knew what I had left over of the 21 21s is 1. So this is my final answer for how much cloth is left over, which is 1 and 2 21s. You can check to see if it needs to be simplified. But I know with 21 not being an even number, there's nothing I can multiply by 2 to get 21. So therefore, in this next part that you're going to be doing, which is where you write your answer in a complete sentence, you're going to put Sally has 1 and 2 21 foot of cloth remaining. And that, my friends, you are finished. Okay, so the next part you're going to do is going to be some practice, and then I'm going to put a game up for us to play to help with still working on finding equivalent fractions. So at any point, if you need to pause this video, such as if you want to pause it and look at this, or if you want to pause it and really study what I did, you can. And let me know if you have any questions or if you're stuck somewhere. Today's focus is really just going to be on adding and subtracting word problems, fraction word problems. And then tomorrow, we're going to move on to multiplying and dividing fraction word problems, still using this UPS check strategy. So this is really good with word problems. All right, I love you all. Have fun. Let me know if you have any questions.